welcome Steve Hurst. He's the president of Moonstone Interactive. He is the expert of the day talking about the 21st Century Integrated Digital Experience Act. How you doing, Steve-O?
Good.
Awesome. And Angel's from Leavenworth, Kansas. Awesome. Fantastic. And we want to welcome everybody. I'm the GovBrief host for you today. We want to welcome everybody. We have folks signing up from all over the place. I saw NASA and FEMA, SBA, VA, NIH. We had somebody coming in from the Army, in fact, CMS. We just want to welcome everybody. We know you have a lot of things to do. We want to help you do what you want to do, and that's why we're here. And while this information is fantastic, it is not affiliated or endorsed by GSA or any other agency. It's provided to you, the audience, for informational purposes only, and participation in this briefing is voluntary, and you don't have to buy from anybody, including Steve Hurst or Moonstone. And that's why you can participate. That's given to us from GSA so that you guys can participate without any obligation. So what is included today, let me make sure this gets populated for everyone to see. Let's see if this works. I'll put this in the chat and boom, there's all the information, including the briefing presentation. We're going to be talking about the 21st century idea and the memorandums in there and Moonstone capabilities as well. As the public law is in there as well. So if you have been living under a rock and you have no idea how Zoom works, you can go up in that portion up top and you can see side-by-side mode and make us bigger, smaller, whatever you like. You are in control of the process. And if you want to participate, just like who was it that chatted that in there earlier? I'll pull it up from Angel. If you'd like to participate and do the chat, you can raise your hand. You can do the Q&A. And if you have something in particular you would like to talk to Steve about and not let all the public know, shers at msinteractive.com is the address, right, Steve?
Yes, it is.
Fantastic.
I'm here.
That's it. So, and we will be doing some polls of why you're here today. Are you here today because you want to learn about the 21st century idea and how it impacts your agency? Are you in management and want to improve your web digital user experience? Because I think that's what we're going to be talking about, Steve. User experience. Do you have a current digital experience need? You want to learn more about Moonstone? You can choose as many as you want, or your boss made you come. Some smart aleck needs to be able to choose that one, I'm sure. So while people are filling that thing out, let us know, give us a high-level overview of Moonstone, how you got started, and I know you're in Danville, California, just outside of San Francisco. So give us a heads up.
Yeah, Moonstone's been around since '97. We've evolved with the marketplace, as any of you know. The internet and the digital marketplace continues to evolve. There's probably no end in sight, but we started off actually as a DVD company, creating interactive DVDs. And wow. We have evolved through all the different evolutions of usage. And it's an exciting time right now because everything is focused around the customer, focused around the customer experience. So our web design services are focused around CMS and digital experience platforms, responsive design, access through 508 compliance. And we're really focusing on that, understanding the customer experience with performance reporting, usability testing, experimentation. It's all about the individual customer and making their experience as good as possible. And of course, we are a certified small business and we have our GSA contract. So we're ready to go.
You're ready to go, rocking and rolling with GSA. So we appreciate that. I'm going to end this poll. Got one more coming at the end. I'm going to share this results with you so you can see them. A lot of folks interested in what this means to their agency, which is fantastic because that's exactly why we're doing this. So we really appreciate you doing that and letting us know why you are here. And I think we're on track, Steve. We're going to make it work. Okay. So we have a couple of terms here. So give us these terms, what these mean for those folks that may be a little bit new to these, a different type of acronyms that you guys run.
Well, I know the government does not use acronyms at all.
No, it's the brand new
thing.
Any
of their communication. So some of these acronyms you may use for a whole different purpose, for all I know. But user experience is UX, customer experience. You can see this. The main thing is digital experience platforms. That's kind of where the whole industry is going, to have your entire platform focused around digital experience. Key performance indicators we'll be talking about. And of course, the buzzword today is artificial intelligence.
You better believe
I'm not
it.
exactly sure what that means because it's artificial.
It's not organic, apparently.
No.
So tell us about this 21st century idea. That's what that stands for, the Integrated Digital Experience Act.
Yeah, it's really, this was in 2018. I understand that Biden has also reinforced it. Interestingly enough, I don't know if people are aware, but Bill Clinton tried to do something similar in 93. Barack Obama did something in 2011, all around the same basic principle. And that is, people deserve a cohesive, easy to use digital experience. And that's what this is all about. This act is active and in place. It's an executive order. The items listed here, some of these I think are pretty straightforward, more concrete. Digitize forms, put in e-signatures. There's things that you can put in explicit technology. Where it gets a little fuzzy is, what does modernized websites mean? Does that mean we have to have new colors? What does improve customer experience mean? Those are the hard things. That's what we're going to talk about today. The hard things, the things that are less concrete that are part of this act.
And so I'm going to ask this poll, if anybody knows whether they're even, if you're new to this and you're not really familiar about the 21st century idea, do you know if you're compliant to this? Because there's some compliance issues that we're going to be talking about. But before we do, if we have some folks that are, and you know that you are, we'd love to include you in this, or if you're getting there, right? And not sure. Most folks are saying they're not sure, at least so far. And let's go ahead and talk about the pieces that you said. What does it mean to modernize? How, and from your standpoint, obviously you have accessibility. There's a lot of 508 buzz and all those things. We've heard that before, and that's driven. Most folks got their hands around that because it affects their agency at such a core level. But let's talk about the rest of these.
Yeah, so this list or definition of modernize actually comes from the US Web Design System. And there's a website out there that provides a lot of detail. By the way, I'm really impressed with how much detail there is online for all the agencies to look at. The challenge is, as I mentioned before, it's very hard to define user experience on a high level, just to say, oh, user experience is A plus B equals C. That's not the case. It's much more individualized and subjective. So when you look down through here, similar to what we talked about before, the first 5 of these, I mean, like secure, provide through a secure connection. Well, that's easy. We'll put in HTTPS and you're done. You can check that off. Those are concrete. The ones that, again, are a little more difficult to get your hands around are designed around user needs, customized digital experiences, functional mobile-friendly environments. Interestingly enough, the mobile usage on government sites has gone up to 32% of the visitors in a broad survey actually use mobile. And you might say, well, 32% isn't much, but guess what? A year ago it was 24%.
Hey, now.
So that's a big jump.
That's a big jump.
So it's keep gaining. So again, these are very important, but you got to get your arms around them. And it takes more than just checking off a few items.
Absolutely. And a lot of this comes from the USDS playbook, right? Digital services, right? US digital
Absolutely. And there are 13 requirements in this playbook. I only listed 5 here because 5 relate to user experience. The other ones, again, are more concrete.
Yep.
And 13 bullets on a page are very hard to read, so we didn't want to do that. So I want to just walk through these because these are very, very important and make my point that it really requires a lot of focus and understanding and new ways of thinking to improve user experience. So first one's understand what people need. I put the word want here because I think want is better than need. So as an example, I go to the DMV because I need to measure or to register a vehicle. I need to register a vehicle.
That's a 4-letter, 3-letter word.
Do I want to go to the DMV? Do I want that experience? Heck no. What I want is I want it fast, quick, and I don't want to ever walk in the building. That's what I want. I need to register. So that's hopefully that helps make my point that to really improve the experience, you need to not only know what they need to do, but how they want to do it. Okay, address the start to finish. This is so important. An experience with an agency is not just one screen. It's not just one visit. It's the entire digital experience. It might be 10 visits to the website. And that whole experience needs to be around the customer's wants. Simple and intuitive, that's pretty straightforward. If it's not simple and intuitive, they aren't going to do it.
That's right.
Interesting fact. People will spend more time on a piece of paper than they will on a screen. The same person. This has been researched. When you're online, your patience is less, you expect it faster, you read less, you want it quick and fast. It's just the medium that does that. The next one here, iterative practices, is very important because it's evolutionary. You don't just go in and flip a switch and now all of a sudden you have a great user experience. It takes trial and error and iterations and evolution. Does anyone think that the expectations online today are the same as they were before COVID?
No.
They're much higher. Why? Because they've been thrown into digital usage. So they're expecting that digital experience. So it keeps evolving. Every time new phone technology comes out, evolves, etc. Data to drive decisions. Sometimes we talk about a concept called HIPPO. What that means is the highest positioned person's opinion. You don't want to make design decisions based on HIPPO. You want to be based on data, the data around visitor behavior, visitor needs, visitor actions. And so this playbook is great.
Yep.
And these are the things we need to address.
So you're telling me that the political appointees and SESs don't get to drive the decisions on how the website looks?
Well, they might today, but if you're really going to optimize user experience, then the main driver needs to be what does the user need and want?
That's right. And I think it's really important. And we have some folks here that are actually, I saw some of the registrants for this talking about experience. So we have folks here. If you want to chime in on that and how challenging it is to fight that, exactly what Steve said, we'd love to include you on that. And I love the fact that you turned it in from what they need to what they want, because if it's talking about what you need and you're going to the DMV, you need a license, right? You need to renew something. You need to renew your car. But at the end of the day, and what I love about this is we can use a different agency that's not federal to talk about some of the challenges like DMV. Everybody knows exactly what kind of experience that is. So, and the challenge is we don't want any of the federal agencies to be thought of like the DMV, right? So we want to give them what they want, the way they want to see it. And I think that's one of the most important things that you have here. Your user success for your user. Love this. Go ahead. Take it away.
Yeah. Okay. So as I mentioned, understanding what people want is a broad effort.
Mm-hmm.
It is a new way of thinking. We help our clients and recommend highly that one of the main things is to define success. Success for the user, but within your purpose. So you're not an e-commerce entity, theoretically,
Right.
but you provide information, you provide services. So within your particular purpose, what is success for your users? And establish metrics around that. So you might say, the metric is we want them to register for something. But in addition to that, you've got to measure all the steps. I'm going to use a private sector example where a success measure is typically sales. Did an e-commerce site sell something? Well, if they only measure selling, then they cannot really improve. They have to measure the shopping, the cart, the steps of the cart, all the way that funnel leading up to the sale. Because if the sales are low, you need to find out what the pathway is to go there and whether you're improving on those points of friction. Same thing's true with any website. Any information, any research people are doing on a website, they go through some type of funnel. So measuring the steps of the user journey and creating key performance indicators so you can constantly track and see trends. It helps you understand, are you making progress toward your goals?
Absolutely.
Now, again, we need to understand what the user really wants. One of the things that we advocate and focus in on is behavioral history. What you can look at is something as simple to start off with, like Google Analytics, and identify where people are getting stuck on your site, where they're having success, what paths they go through, where they exit, etc. And also where they're having problems or pain points. So if some point in the funnel they're exiting and you don't want them to be, you have to identify what the problem is there. Why are they exiting? And prioritize those. Now, one of the things that sometimes people do is get too focused on where's the points of friction, where's something wrong, which, by the way, is extremely important. But also look at when it's successful and reverse engineer their path to find out what path they went through, because that can give you insights on what the user wants and needs. But look at what people are doing today. Now, this is very important in the fact that most websites have more than one type of user. So I arbitrarily let's consider the GSA website. They have many different users coming to that website. They have consumers coming in to check out the artwork and the museums and what's available. They have businesses coming in because they want to be GSA certified or offer services to the agencies. And they have agencies coming in to get information about policies or get information about vendors, etc. So you have three very different types of people.
Yeah.
And needs coming in. And every one of those has some type of journey. So what's listed here underneath is a very generic journey. Most people on the internet have a period of what we call learning or research. They have a need or want, and they say, what's out there? Let me check to see what's there, who has what, etc. That's the learning research. Then they pick out a couple and then they evaluate. Who's better? Is this guy better than this guy? Do I want this? And then they actually decide, do I trust this company? Do they have an easy process? And they'll fulfill whatever their need is. And then once they kind of get associated with that website or that company or that agency, they can have ongoing needs to continue to use the service. Maybe they get stuck. They need some support. Maybe they just need answers, etc. So there's multiple stages of journey. So each one of these people at each individual stage might have a different need or want. Understanding all that is very helpful in optimizing the user experience. And now it's so great, I can do whatever I can do on my desktop on my phone. Well, that's wonderful for me, but for the website, how do you make sure that you're delivering the information in a piece of equipment that's this big that normally fits on a screen this big and have it still make sense and be clear? That's what it means to understand the user experience. You need to understand all of this together and how it can operate together on one website.
Yeah, it used to be piece of cake. Yeah, it used to be, back in the day, it just had to show up on, for those of us dating ourselves back before Google, right? It just, you would do a search in Yahoo or Netscape. Ooh, how about that?
That's an old one.
Yeah, that's right. Showing my age, showing the gray hairs, man. But yeah,
I don't have any of those.
Yeah, not any. So yeah, and we all know that this continues to evolve. So with this, the next poll that I have, and I really like this one. I want to get how the user experience. How do you measure your user experience? And there's a lot of different ways to do this, right? Because sometimes you're talking to people personally, but most of the time, if it's a digital experience, you're doing some kind of surveys or focus groups. You can choose as many as you want, by the way, of these. And then you get a little bit more detailed about usability studies and visitor behavior and things and experimentation. And you're going to go into this a little bit between A, B, and maybe even more than just A, B testing, right? And maybe A, B, C, D, and even more. So let us know what you have there. And I will post, we had a couple folks come in a little bit late. So let me, while I'm doing this, I'm going to slap in the chat all of the accompanying docs in case you missed it. There they are. You can have those. And let's continue to talk about how we understand what people want while they're filling this out. A lot of folks do surveys, focus groups. You see it happening there. That's good. So you can give us a little. How do you do quantitative? What does that mean? Usability studies and surveys. What does that mean?
Well, it's really great in the fact that if you take something like a qualitative, a focus group, you have a limited number of people, but you have the opportunity to have dialogue with them. Mm-hmm. But it's much more subjective. People are telling you what they think you want them to say, things like that. And so you have to weed through that, and it's a smaller number. But quantitatively, you'd like to have more of a confidence level if you're talking to them about, is it better to have search results filtered this way or that way, or is it easier with this navigation or that navigation as you're going through usability studies? So you want to have a higher confidence level that the input you have represents your segments. Quantitatively now, there's a lot of technology out there that allows you to basically select an audience and provide a predetermined, almost like a prototype of different processes, and actually record their screenshots and video and that of what they're going through and pick up on exactly where they get stuck, where they go through it. So now you're getting one-on-one feedback on a process, but you're doing it 500 or 1,000 people all online. And then you get all your stuff in, you have a high confidence level that represents the marketplace. So it's a phenomenal way to do it. This feedback for me goes from surveys, which I think are interesting, but don't really provide actionable steps or data. Behavioral monitoring, I think, is great because action speaks louder than words. Focus group is wonderful for deep dialogues, but not for quantitative decisions. Quantitative usability studies is great, as I already mentioned, but the ultimate is experimentation. The ultimate is that you can experiment different types of features and compare them against each other. So the very simplest is an A/B test. I want red fonts on my site versus blue fonts. Does it make any difference whether or not people can read the site? If A is better than B, then the answer is A. And maybe that's blue font, so forth and so on. So experimentation is very helpful in getting the feedback from the customers or users. Okay, this is great. So how are we going to optimize? First off, it is not a checklist. You don't say, oh, I'm going to optimize today, done. It is an entire culture that you're focused on the user experience and you want to keep getting better iteratively or incrementally, evolutionary. It just goes on forever. So this little graphic here, you need to analyze your results, whatever those are, today's results, your last experiment, whatever. And then you come up with recommendations for improvements. You put those improvements in and you measure the results, and then you analyze again, come up with more. And this is an ongoing cycle that goes on. And the companies that are most successful, this is a way of life. This is their culture. And so you need to think that way if you really want to support the users. Now, one question that comes up is, who is shaping the user expectations, right? Because I have a site. I only need to worry about people who come to my site and what they want, right? Because I know what they want because I'm offering my service. That's not true. What's true is that every user out there has their expectations shaped by their day-to-day life. So how many people have an Amazon account? How many people are expecting next day delivery? How many people are expecting to get all their prior orders, get proactive product recommendations, all that?
Yep.
Amazon is shaping user expectations for the entire world because they're ubiquitous.
And this
everyone refers to them.
And this goes to every agency too. So if you think that, oh, I have my thing and that's what I'm doing, and my user experience is based on what I'm offering, if you're the EPA or if you're pension benefit guarantee, whatever it happens to be, guess what? The user's expectation is being set by folks like Amazon, who are continually, what are they doing continually, Steve?
They're continually experimenting, enhancing. They are constant. Now, as Dave said, they're the leader. They're pulling the market, but they continue to experiment and improve.
And they're constantly making recommendations where if you purchase this, other people that purchase this also purchase, we see this, and this gets them smarter and smarter about you and me. And that's exactly what, maybe not us gray hairs, Steve, for our expectations, but the next generations that are out there. All right. And we have to deal with the gray hairs too, right?
Yeah.
Because we are them. So how do you continue to optimize this? And I know there's a lot of this revolves around data.
Yeah. I mean, in order to do this, you need data. And part of the regulation is data-driven decisions. You need a data warehouse that captures visitor behavior. You need to have a tagging, a management approach so you can tag things consistently. Also, you can analyze the data and have data surface the opportunities for improvement. Again, don't fall into the hippo trap. Focus on data. You need a data warehouse and capabilities. And there are plenty of optimization tools out there. Again, it's all about user experience. Behavioral targeting is basically making sure that you can personalize content to certain behaviors. We talked about all those different users. We talked about where they are in the journey, what they might have. You can identify that by prior visits, by their current visits, what their search terms is. You can be providing words, photos, offers, navigation, personalized to that person's prior behavior. And that's what behavioral targeting is. It increases user satisfaction tremendously. Back to experimentation, A/B, multivariate experimentation, constantly. And you need tools to do that, to capture the information and give you the calibration of what's working, what's not. What's really exciting is with the advancements of artificial intelligence and machine learning, you can have tools now that will dynamically suggest content based on the activity at the point in time that the visitor's on the site. So you use these rules to say, oh, well, they've gone through this, they're in this context, show them this because it's most likely what they want next. That is powerful.
Very powerful. And we see that, we see folks like Amazon doing exactly that.
Yep.
Because we think that this is what you're going to want to do. Maybe it's specifications, maybe it's other things. But when you think about what agencies are trying to accomplish in engaging the constituents, right? It could be voters, it could be citizens, it could be users of what they're presenting to them, or just finding engagement to be able to make it easy for them to be able to get the information that they need, as opposed to having to call somebody, if you can even do that anymore a lot of times, right?
Yeah, well, by the way, I'm glad you brought that up, Dave, because if the user experience improves, there is a direct benefit to every single agency out there. Less phone calls, less emails, less contact, because they got what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And so it benefits the user, but also benefits the agency tremendously.
And you have a significant amount of experience in this throughout, not just government, but throughout what every single major corporation is doing, because their lifeblood, it's their lifeblood now.
Right. Exactly.
Organization.
Exactly.
So, all right. We do have a question at least, and whoa, that's not that, and do not disturb on that, so I don't get another one of those. But I do want to ask a question about let me get this poll up here real quick, about when you expect a web monetization or user experience requirement. I know that's a loaded question because just about everybody has those, but let us know where they are and we can continue to help you with that. And Scott Christensen says, where did that quote about users willing to spend more time filling out a paper form than an online come from?
That came from when back in my early days in the internet, around 96, 97, I worked for Visa International and was heavily involved in optimizing their payment structure. And so it basically, I don't remember the exact document, but it was done by a study where people actually gave, it wasn't filling out a form, they gave them a screen that was let's say a PDF, a full screen of text, and they gave them the same piece of paper in a physical form and basically calculated the amount of time that they were able to maintain attention.
Wow.
And it was, I think it was related, it may have come from DMA, the Direct Marketing Association, or one of those.
Yeah,
I don't remember the exact, but I've always remembered it and applied it when we're looking at websites and content and page layout and things like that. And I think it proves to be true. If you go to a website and it's all copy and it's not a bunch of sound bites, most people will not stay there very long. We see it over and over again, behavioral analysis.
Yeah.
So I hope that helps.
He
Sorry,
says,
I
thanks.
don't remember. It's probably, well, 20 years older.
Scott says, thanks. It does help. See that? You actually did help somebody, Steve. Awesome. So I'm going to kill that poll. And let me do this. Let me get this to where we want to go, because I had to do some finagling to get there. And I want to get to the place where we're, for the key set, we're going to be finishing up real shortly here. But the key takeaways for this, let's take them through this, because I think the biggest thing is for agencies to really develop a user experience roadmap. Don't you think that that's probably the biggest piece for folks to do, and what that means for them?
Yeah, basically, roadmap's a fancy name for you need a plan. So, I mean, you really need to think about what things need to change. And it should start with how are you going to measure and monitor progress, understanding the user, and recognizing this is not a single shot. This is a process. It's a culture. It's evolutionary. And you need to lay that out in some priority order, because you can't do it all on Monday. You might need to go clear into Wednesday, but I mean, you need a plan. And by the way, all the documents that are available to the agencies online about this say the same thing. I mean, you need a plan. You need a concrete plan with priority steps and evolution. And then this second point down here, it's really a culture of improving engagement of your users. It's a culture. Again, it's not a checklist. It is a way of thinking to keep going with it. Because guess what? 3 years from now, what the user wants today is going to change based on what they're exposed to. Either based on what Amazon's doing or Apple's doing or something. They change expectations, and you want to keep up with it if you want to keep them happy. And experiment. Don't be afraid to experiment. If you experiment on an idea and it's a bust, it is terrible. That is wonderful, because now you know that doesn't work. So now you look at the alternative to that and start down that road. All information from experiments are valuable.
I couldn't agree more with that. I think so many people, especially there's folks in the government, shocking as this is for everybody here, that are very risk averse. So they're afraid that if something doesn't run better, even if it's just a little bit better, then they look at that as okay, that's a success. When really failure is a really hyper learning mechanism. Nobody likes to do it, but it teaches us so much more than success oftentimes. And sometimes when you take that risk and then all this, that's where you find the real wins, where somebody says, wow, that was really creative. I really like that. And that's just be willing to don't make huge failures, right? We all know about failures of website development that absolutely was awful, right? Where everything was supposed to work and nothing worked. And
I'll tell you, experimentation in small bites helps you avoid what Dave just talked about. Because when you follow the hippo approach and someone says, I think we should change the website this way, and they're wrong, then you have big failures. With experimentation, you can say, let's change this approach and do an A/B test or a multivariant test. You don't have a failure. You have one is better than the other, and you took smaller bites. You didn't try to boil the ocean all at once. What you did is said, let's look at this particular navigation structure and see which way is better. So you're not betting the farm. It is actually a much lower risk approach to experiment more often. I used to work for a company. We had over 5,000 experiments on one product offering.
Wow.
And we doubled the industry statistics for our sales on that because we did 5,000 different experiments.
Wow.
So again, you can distill this down based on your agency, your risk tolerance, so forth and so on.
Yep.
But we would encourage you to do these, and hopefully you have taken away and I've given you something to think about. So
excellent. And while we did say that participation in this is not an indication you don't have to purchase from any particular vendor, you actually can purchase from Steve and his crew because he is a GSA contract holder and he's a small business. So there's one checkbox that works. And if you need anything else like set aside, socioeconomic set aside, I do believe Steve knows a few people out there that can help you get there from the procurement standpoint. So you can reach out to him and he'd be glad to talk. How much does it cost to talk to you on the phone, Steve?
Well, we have a special today. It's actually free.
Free. My favorite 4-letter word. Awesome. So it's free to talk to Steve.
Limited time only.
Limited time only. That's right. So get on account of it. You will receive in a recap email early next week. You'll probably get a recap of this one, just a preliminary one, so you have everything from today. But you'll receive one with the briefing, presentation, Moonstone capabilities, a link to a video, and an ability to take advantage of that limited time offer with Steve for the one-on-one meeting for free. And we just want to say thank you very much for joining us. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to Steve directly, or if I can help you in any way, I'll be glad to do that. But we really appreciate you all being here and joining us. If you have any additional feedback for me, let me know, because we do like the feedback, right, Steve?
Absolutely. Everything is welcome.
That's right.
Thank you so much for attending. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's awesome. And you will get that recap out to you. Thanks, Steve. Always great information. Love it. We'll get that recap out to you. And Alvaro and David Whittington and Douglas and Greg and Kevin and Lindsay and Michelle and the other Michelle and Scott and Vipin, if I'm saying that right, Vipin. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. Fantastic. We really appreciate it. We appreciate you. Thank you, Vipin, for all that you do as well. So we and we'll let you go because we wouldn't get you out of here at a reasonable time. We appreciate you guys joining us. Have a great day, guys.
Thanks, everyone.